Nevertheless, Aquarius is a friendly sign, a humanitarian. They're honest, they're loyal, original, inventive, independent. These are just basic characteristics of this sign. They can be very unpredictable, they can be very contrary, they can be very detached. As every sign that we discussed, they all have their strengths and their weaknesses, and some have a lot of the strength, and some have a lot of the weaknesses of the sign, depending on the hour you were born. It depends on a lot of other things, not just the month you were born in, education. They can sometimes be very confident of themselves, not necessarily go along with the instructions that they're given, either because they want to experiment something else, or because they don't think that the person is right, or simply because they're in the mood of it. But otherwise, they're soft-spoken and courteous. Many of them can be very funny, conceited, and independent. Does everybody know what conceited means? Conceited? Who decided that it should be pronounced conceited? Anyway, conceited? Yeah. You know what conceited means? Conceited is not arrogant exactly. There's a small difference. Aquarians are known to be somewhat self-centered. Self-centered, that means they're into themselves. Why are they into themselves? Well, you'll see soon, because of certain ideas that they have about life. They're very, very strongly idealistic about these ideas. And it creates a certain aloofness. That's another, perhaps, difficult word for some of you whose English may not be the first language. A certain aloofness means a certain sense of, I know it's right. This is the correct way to do it. It doesn't mean they're arrogant. Don't mistake this with arrogance. Arrogance belongs to the fire element. Big shots. On the contrary, they hate big shots. They're totally not compatible with big shots. But it creates a certain detachment. In other words, I think this is right. I'm going to pursue this. This is what I'm going to do. Remember, Aquarius is also a fixed sign. Remember, we have fixed. Taurus is fixed for the earth. Aquarius is fixed for the air. You have Scorpio is fixed for the water. You have and we have Leo is fixed with the fire. Fixed signs are a little bit more stable, more firm, do not change. And as we will see later on, because of that, that creates a certain degree of stubbornness too. Fixed, they're not adaptable, they're not changeable. Very independent. Independent means that they want to do things the way they think they should be done. But typically they are diplomatic, gentle, sympathetic, and timid. Now notice diplomatic here. You won't find a lot of people who do not agree with some of this, the skeptics. They will say, oh, this applies to everybody. I intentionally wrote almost everything that I wrote in such a way that you will see cannot apply to everyone. Of all the 12 signs, does anybody here know? If you were here from the very beginning, we're almost holding that in. Who are the diplomats? Who are the tactful ones? Diplomat is tactful. Libra is a tactful person. You know what tactful means? You will not be doobly. You will not tell it to you as it is. You will dress it up. And you need an air element that knows how to talk. Air knows how to communicate. Air is careful in choosing his words properly, but especially if he does not want to look down at you. Especially if he's not very critical of you. So this is Aquarius. Aquarius and Libras are the most tactful of all the signs. You can have a tactful water sign too. But usually they are careful. They can be very, very tactful. Gentle, sympathetic, and timid. Again, usually, not always. Usually that's the description of the sign. Their nature is a bit unpredictable. That is also something known about Aquarius. They'll surprise you. All out of the blue, you will act in a certain way that you didn't expect. Not necessarily the negative way. Unpredictable does not mean negative. It just means totally unexpected. The Earth, Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo are very, very predictable. Like a Swiss clock. You know exactly what they're going to do, how they're going to react, how they're going to behave, what their opinion will be, usually if you know them well. With Aquarius, you cannot always know. Why do you do this? Because I feel like it. That may be the only answer. Not necessarily, they won't necessarily explain themselves. There's a little bit of unpredictability, and that has to do with their desire to become independent and to do things as they feel like doing it at that moment. So they can suddenly shock you with amazing statements and actions. An Aquarius can wear something without bothering to check if it conforms to the occasion. Style. And this is much more for a man than it is for a woman, obviously. He can do this deliberately to show his refusal to conform. He'll wear, remember those wide ties in the 70s? A real Aquarius is capable of wearing a funny-looking tie just for the sake of proving a point. I don't care what the style is. Why do I need to follow the style of friends? I'll make up my own style. They're a little bit rebellious, not conforming, and they're indifferent, they don't care. If you laugh at him, he will laugh back. It doesn't bother him. They're a mixture of cold, practicality, and eccentric instability. And what that means is that, not that they're not stable, but sometimes they do things in an eccentric, unusual way. And they have an intuitive empathy with the mentally disturbed. Now this point that I wrote over here is so true. I've seen this so many times. Of all the 12 signs, the best ones for dealing with mishuggahs, you know what that means? With people who are not stable, with people who are ill, use an Aquarius. Somehow they have it in them that as soon as you put them close to them, they start talking, the guy calms down. They have the ability to reduce the anxiety of the insane, calming hysterical people, and soothing frightened children. Let's leave it to an Aquarius. Just their presence. They're not making a big show. Somehow their presence, their talking, they're communicating with that hysterical, with that disturbed person. They have something in them more than any other sign. I'm sure other signs, Virgos, can do a good job. They're very devoted, they're very patient. No, Aquarius, somehow they have it in the symptom. I've tested this one actually. With people who are very hysterical, people who are nervous. Sent somebody, who was an Aquarius. And this one I actually tested. The woman happened to say, you know what? Usually I would go crazy, I would not be patient, and I would not do what I was supposed to do. But because that individual was here at that moment, I was completely calm. I don't know why. She herself did not know why. It's an Aquarius. He's a revolutionary type and an idealist. Always trying to figure out how to change what is wrong and how to improve the world. Very much always thinking about changing things, improving things. Many in this sign are amongst the greatest discoverers and inventors, gifted with a sharp and deep perception of things. They also have a very strong power of concentration. However, many of their ideas are only in the dreaming stage. If you look at an Aquarius very closely, you will see his eyes are dreaming. In other words, he's all over the place, thinking about all sorts of things. They spend a lot of time fantasizing about them. Did I spell that right? Couldn't find it in the dictionary. Fantasize. There's no fantasize, it's fantasizing. But anyway, you get the point. They spend a lot of times dreaming about things, and they don't necessarily implement everything. They don't necessarily ever get to what they want to do. Their ideas are great ideas. Some of their ideas are eventually discovered or put into work 20, 30 years down the road. Thomas Edison, a lot of discoverers, a lot of inventors were Aquarius. Many more presidents of the United States, I think, also were Aquarius. You have Lincoln, you have Roosevelt, the second also, what's his name, FDR. You have Ronald Reagan. And now that I mention these names, especially Ronald Reagan, that you can identify with, most people do not remember FDR, right? Unless you read about him, or Lincoln, you will see a lot of the characteristics in these leaders. So they spend a lot of time dreaming about things. They don't necessarily always get to what they'd like to do. And this is another thing that is very typical of Aquarius. He's the most misunderstood of all the signs. They suffer terribly in their lives from misunderstanding. I would venture to say that most Aquariuses have this problem. Not everybody understands it. Now you can't blame people because there's some unpredictability about them, but they have a very unique nature. Nature that on the one hand is very witty and funny, but they can be idealists, serious, stubborn about certain